To further examine the issue of sex trafficking and the language used to stigmatize the survivors, looking at first-hand narratives of individuals involved is a useful tool. 3 texts will be used primarily to dissect the narratives from different disciplines of public health, communication, religious studies, and psychology. The 3 texts are Human Trafficking Survivor, I Was Raped 43,200 Times by Raphael Romo, Survivors of Slavery, Modern-Day Slave Narratives by Laura T. Murphy, and God in a Brothel by Daniel Walker. Human Trafficking Survivor by Raphael Romo from CNN highlights Carla Jacinto's story as a victim of the sex industry. She had an unstable home life and was seeking a stable, loving adult. It is common for girls to get introduced to the sex trade through someone they know and trust. Traffickers use this as a recruiting strategy because the girls will comply with requests and become dependent on them so they will not try to leave. This notion is perceived as consent on the part of the women who are being exploited, that the young girls and women who fall prey to traffickers have entered the industry as a fully informed volunteer. This is not the case. In Carla's situation specifically, she was lured in at the young age of 12. It is easier to lure in younger children, especially those with a history of sexual abuse. In Carla's case, the man used kind words and spoiled her with gifts and affection. He then talked her into running away with him, and she did after being locked out of her house one night. Although it seemed like Carla was bettering herself in the first 3 months of the relationship, there were many red flags. He would leave her alone in the apartment for days at a time, and his cousins had very strange relationships with multiple and different young girls. He admitted that they were pimps and immediately informed Carla how she would contribute to the business. During her first introduction into the system, she worked 14-hour days where she would be with 20 men per day for a week. She recalled the men laughing at her as she was crying during their sessions with her. Perceived failure in business days led to emotional and physical abuse from her trafficker. Failures could be anything from a dissatisfied customer, Carla's deteriorating emotional state, not receiving enough money, to not having enough customers by the end of a business day. At first, staying in good mental health throughout the day was a hard task for her. Not only would customers contribute to her mental well-being, but her trafficker did as well. He used words that would make her feel irrelevant and less than a human, words that made her feel like an object. Once, police came into the brothel she was in for a day and also abused and videotaped the young girls instead of helping them in rescuing from the trade. In 2008, she was rescued from her situation and taken back to transition to a regular lifestyle. To do so, she used a variety of services offered to her because it takes such a collaborative effort to help heal the survivors. She now spends her time speaking out and spreading awareness about sex trafficking. What is very telling is that the article reporting her story did not elaborate on her rehabilitation. The process through which Carla was reintegrated into a normal life is not addressed, nor does Carla herself give much detail about her healing. The CNN article went into gruesome detail about the exploitation she endured, but not one line was spent detailing her recovery. In order to understand the big picture, both discussions need to happen simultaneously.